What if I told you that right now, as you are watching this video, there could be microscopic creatures living inside your gut, silently feeding off the food you eat, stealing your nutrients, and producing toxic waste inside your own intestines? And what if I told you that most doctors, during a standard checkup, will never even test for them? I know that sounds alarming, and it should, because what I am about to share with you is something conventional medicine has largely ignored for decades, especially when it comes to adults over the age of 50. Here is the shocking truth. According to data compiled by the World Health Organization, over 3.5 billion people worldwide are affected by intestinal parasites at any given time. That is nearly half the global population. Yet in the United States alone, most primary care physicians do not routinely screen for parasitic infections unless a patient has recently traveled abroad. That is a massive blind spot in our healthcare system. And for seniors, people 55, 60, 65, and older, this blind spot can be genuinely dangerous. As we age, our immune systems naturally become less robust. Our gut lining thins, our digestive enzymes decrease. All of this creates what I like to call the perfect biological welcome mat for parasites. But here is what really keeps me up at night as a physician. The symptoms of a parasitic gut infection are so common, so easy to dismiss, that millions of seniors are walking around right now, attributing their suffering to aging itself. Fatigue? Must be getting older. Bloating and gas after every meal? That is just how digestion works now. Unexplained weight loss? Probably stress. Skin rashes that come and go? Maybe dry skin. Joint aches with no clear cause? Arthritis, right? Wrong. In many cases, far more than the medical establishment acknowledges. These symptoms point directly to an undetected parasitic infection living in the gut. I have been practicing medicine for over 15 years, and I have seen this pattern repeat itself dozens of times. A patient in their 60s or 70s comes to me after years of suffering, after seeing multiple specialists, after spending thousands of dollars on treatments that never addressed the root cause. And once we finally look at the gut, really look, everything makes sense. The tragedy is not just that these parasites exist. The tragedy is that we have been given natural, scientifically supported tools to flush them out, support the gut lining, and restore digestive health. But almost nobody is talking about them in a language that seniors can access and use. That changes today. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how intestinal parasites take hold in the aging gut, why conventional medicine keeps missing them, what biological damage they cause over time, and, most importantly, the precise, step-by-step natural protocol I use with my own patients to eliminate them and rebuild gut health from the inside out. Stay with me. What you are about to learn could genuinely change how you feel every single day. My name is Dr. Ryan Montel. I am a physician with over 15 years of clinical and surgical experience, and I have dedicated a significant portion of my career to understanding the gut, not just as a digestive organ, but as the command center of human health, immune function, and longevity. Before we go deeper, I want to take a moment to connect with you directly. If you are new to this channel, welcome. I would love for you to hit that subscribe button right now, because every week I share medical insights designed specifically for adults over 50 that you are simply not going to hear in a standard doctor's office. And to everyone watching, new or returning, I have a little request. Drop your age and where you are watching from in the comments below. I love knowing who I am speaking with. Whether you are 58 years old in Florida, 67 in Texas, or tuning in from the UK or Canada, you are my community, and your stories matter. And if this video is already making you think, please leave a like. It is the single most powerful way to help this information reach another senior who needs it. Now, back to the science. Here is what troubles me most about the conventional medical system's approach to gut parasites in older adults. The standard of care is reactive, not proactive. A doctor will order a stool test for parasites if, and only if, a patient reports recent international travel, acute diarrhea lasting more than 48 hours, or visible evidence in stool. That is it. Those are essentially the only triggers. But chronic low-grade parasitic infections do not behave that way. They are subtle. They grow slowly. They become part of the body's background noise. And because the symptoms mimic so many other conditions common in seniors, irritable bowel, hypothyroidism, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, they get misdiagnosed or dismissed for years. Consider these numbers. A 2019 review published in the journal Parasites and Vectors found that in developed countries, intestinal parasite prevalence in adults over 55 is significantly underreported, with estimates suggesting between 12 and 18% of the elderly population may carry at least one parasitic organism at any given time. That means roughly 1 in 6 seniors. A separate analysis from the CDC found that Giardia lamblia, one of the most common intestinal parasites in North America, infects approximately 1.2 million Americans annually, with disproportionately high rates in older adults with weakened immune defenses. And yet, the standard medical response remains: treat the symptoms. Prescribe antacids for the bloating. Prescribe antidepressants for the fatigue. Prescribe laxatives for the constipation, never asking why these symptoms appeared in the first place. I am not here to criticize my colleagues. I am here to fill a gap, and in my 15 years of practice, I have seen what happens when we actually address the root cause, when we stop treating the smoke and start extinguishing the fire. The results, both in my patients' lab work and in how they feel day to day, are remarkable. To truly understand why intestinal parasites are so dangerous and why they are especially damaging in adults over 50, we need to look inside the body at what is actually happening on a cellular level. I promise to keep this accessible, so let me start with a simple metaphor. Imagine your intestines as a magnificent hotel. Every room, every cell lining your gut wall is designed to absorb nutrients, pass them into your bloodstream, and keep dangerous intruders out. The hotel has excellent security. It has a thick velvet rope. It has bouncers in the form of immune cells. It is a well-run establishment. Now, imagine that parasites are squatters. They sneak into the hotel through contaminated water, undercooked food, contact with contaminated soil, or even transfer from infected pets. Once inside, they do not announce themselves. They find a room, settle in, and start helping themselves to room service, your food, your nutrients, while paying absolutely nothing. Here is the specific biology. The most common parasites that affect the gut of adults over 50 include protozoa, like Giardia lamblia and Cryptosporidium, as well as helminths, worm-like organisms such as roundworms, tapeworms, and pinworms. Each operates differently, but they share common damaging mechanisms. First, nutrient theft. Parasites physically attach to the villi, those tiny finger-like projections that line your small intestine and absorb nutrients. By latching on, they intercept vitamins B12, D, and iron before your cells can absorb them. This is why many seniors with hidden parasitic infections present with unexplained anemia and vitamin deficiencies that do not respond to supplementation. Second, intestinal permeability, or what many now call leaky gut. When parasites burrow into the mucosal lining, they create microdamage, tiny tears in the gut wall. This allows bacterial toxins, undigested food particles, and even fragments of the parasites themselves to leak into the bloodstream. Your immune system responds with systemic inflammation. This chronic inflammatory state is linked to joint pain, brain fog, skin conditions, and fatigue, symptoms we so often attribute to aging. Third, microbiome disruption. A healthy gut contains trillions of beneficial bacteria. Parasites alter the pH and chemical environment of the intestinal tract, killing off beneficial strains and allowing pathogenic bacteria to thrive. This dysbiosis, an imbalance in gut bacteria, further impairs digestion, immunity, and even mood regulation, since approximately 90% of serotonin is produced in the gut. Fourth, immune exhaustion. In younger bodies, the immune system can often keep parasites in check. But in adults over 60, immune resources are already stretched. The chronic fight against parasites depletes immune reserves, leaving seniors more vulnerable to infections, slower to heal, and more prone to autoimmune-like reactions. Understanding this four-part cascade, nutrient theft, gut permeability, microbiome disruption, and immune exhaustion, is essential because in my protocol, each step of the solution targets one of these four biological pathways. You will see exactly how this maps together in Part 6. But first, I want to tell you about a patient whose story illustrates everything I just described. A story that changed how I approach this issue in my practice forever. Let me tell you about Margaret. She was 68 years old when she first walked into my clinic. A retired school teacher from Ohio. Sharp, articulate, clearly someone who had taken good care of herself throughout her life. But when she sat down across from me, she looked exhausted in a way that sleep could not fix. She told me she had been struggling for nearly 3 years. It had started, she thought, after a hiking trip she took with her grandchildren, camping, drinking from a stream they assumed was clean. Shortly after, she noticed her digestion was off, bloating after every meal, alternating between constipation and loose stools. She chalked it up to stress. Then came the fatigue, not normal tiredness, a bone-deep exhaustion that made her afternoon naps mandatory. Her memory started slipping. She gained 11 pounds despite eating less. Her skin broke out in a rash along her arms that came and went without explanation. Her joints ached every morning. Over those 3 years, she had seen 5 different doctors. She had been diagnosed with IBS, then perimenopause-related hormonal changes, then early fibromyalgia, then hypothyroidism, even though her thyroid labs were borderline at best. She had been prescribed 3 different medications. None had worked. Her quality of life had declined dramatically. When she came to me, the first thing I did was listen, really listen, to the sequence of events. The camping trip, the stream water, the timing. Then, I ordered a comprehensive stool panel that included specific parasite DNA testing, not just a standard stool O and P exam. The results came back within a week. Margaret had a confirmed Giardia lamblia infection. She also showed evidence of intestinal dysbiosis, elevated inflammatory markers, and B12 and iron levels at the bottom of the normal range, consistent with years of nutrient theft by the parasite. Her reaction when I told her? Relief. Pure, tearful relief. Because finally, after 3 years, someone had found a reason, a real biological reason for everything she had been experiencing. We immediately began what I now call the Gut Restore Protocol, a structured, natural, multi-step approach that I will walk you through in detail in Part 6. Within the first 2 weeks, Margaret's bloating had reduced by roughly 70%. By week 6, her energy had returned to near normal levels. By month 3, her B12 and iron levels had normalized. Her skin rash had completely resolved, and she had lost 8 of the 11 pounds she had gained. At her 4-month follow-up, Margaret told me something I will never forget. She said, "Dr. Montel, I feel like myself again for the first time in years. I feel like I got my life back." Margaret's story is not unique. I have seen variations of it dozens of times, and the common thread is always the same: a missed diagnosis, years of wrong treatments, and a gut infection that conventional screening simply failed to catch. What Margaret needed, what so many seniors need, was not another prescription. It was a protocol that targeted the root cause. And that is exactly what we are going to talk about next, after I first walk you through the most common and costly mistakes people make when dealing with gut parasites. Now that you understand what intestinal parasites actually do inside the body, I need to talk to you about something equally important: the mistakes that prevent people from getting better. Because in my experience, the biggest obstacle is not just the parasites themselves. It is the well-intentioned but ultimately ineffective approaches most people take when they suspect something is wrong with their gut. Mistake number 1, relying on a standard stool test. This is the most common and most consequential mistake I see. When a patient finally convinces their doctor to test for parasites, they get what is called an O and P test, ova and parasite examination. A technician looks at a stool sample under a microscope and checks for parasite eggs or organisms. The problem? The sensitivity of this test is shockingly low. Studies suggest that a single standard O and P exam can miss parasitic infections up to 70% of the time. Because parasites shed eggs inconsistently, and a single sample on a single day may not capture them. You need either multiple samples or, preferably, a comprehensive stool DNA test, also called PCR-based parasitology, which can detect parasite genetic material even when organisms are not actively shedding. If your doctor only ran one standard stool test and it came back negative, that result may not mean what you think it means. Mistake number 2. Taking antiparasitic drugs without supporting the gut. Some patients, having finally received a positive diagnosis, are given prescription antiparasitic medications like metronidazole or albendazole. These drugs can be effective at killing certain parasites. But here's what most doctors do not tell you. Killing the parasites is only step 1. When parasites die, they release toxins. They leave behind damaged gut lining. The microbiome is still disrupted. Inflammatory pathways are still activated. If you only kill the parasites without repairing the gut environment, you will often feel temporarily worse before feeling better, and you may remain symptomatic for months. I have seen patients finish a course of antiparasitic medication and feel exactly the same as before, because nobody addressed the collateral damage. Mistake number 3, treating the gut without removing the source. Many people invest in probiotic supplements, digestive enzymes, and anti-inflammatory diets, all of which are genuinely helpful, but they continue practices that are reintroducing parasites into their system. These include drinking unfiltered tap water, eating undercooked pork or fish, not washing produce properly, or sharing living space with pets that have not been recently dewormed. You cannot repair a leaky boat while the hull is still being punctured. Source elimination must be a foundational part of any effective protocol. Mistake number 4, ignoring the immune system. This one surprises people. When I explain that seniors need to specifically support their immune system during parasite elimination, not just their gut lining, I often get puzzled looks. But think back to the biology. Parasite infections exhaust immune reserves. If you eliminate the parasites without rebuilding immune defenses, reinfection becomes likely and recovery is incomplete. Key nutrients like zinc, vitamin D, and quercetin play a critical role here, and I have built these specifically into my protocol. Avoiding these 4 mistakes is not complicated, but you need to know they exist, and now you do. Let me show you exactly what to do instead. Everything we have covered so far, the biology, the misdiagnoses, the common mistakes, has been building to this moment. I want to share with you what I call the Gut Restore Protocol. This is the structured, multi-step approach I have developed over years of clinical practice, combining evidence-based natural interventions to eliminate intestinal parasites, repair the gut lining, and rebuild long-term digestive health in seniors. This is not a magic cure. It is a systematic, science-backed process. And it works because it addresses all 4 biological damage pathways we discussed: nutrient theft, gut permeability, microbiome disruption, and immune exhaustion. Here are the 5 steps. Step 1. Eliminate exposure sources. Days 1 through 7. Before you can flush parasites out, you must stop letting new ones in. During the first week, I ask all my patients to do 4 things. Switch to filtered or boiled water exclusively. A quality filter with a 1 micron rating or smaller removes Giardia and Cryptosporidium cysts. Thoroughly wash all raw produce with a diluted apple cider vinegar rinse. Ensure any pets in the household have been recently dewormed by a veterinarian. Temporarily avoid raw or undercooked fish and pork. Step 2. Deploy natural antiparasitic agents. Weeks 2 through 4. Nature provides us with extraordinarily powerful antiparasitic compounds. The 3 I use most consistently in my senior patients are black walnut hull extract, shown in laboratory studies to have direct activity against Giardia and pinworm; wormwood, Artemisia absinthium nitrous sepaus sin septentin mausbaus, used medicinally for centuries and studied for its ability to disrupt parasite membranes; and clove extract, which targets parasite eggs, a critical step that many protocols miss. I recommend these as part of a standardized herbal blend, taken with the largest meal of the day for maximum absorption for 3 weeks. Always consult your physician before starting, especially if you are on blood thinners or anticoagulants. Step 3. Repair the gut lining. Weeks 3 through 8. Simultaneously with the antiparasitic phase, we begin repairing intestinal permeability. The 3 most powerful tools here are L-glutamine, an amino acid that is the primary fuel source for intestinal cells and has been shown in multiple trials to reduce gut permeability. Zinc carnosine, a chelated form of zinc specifically studied for its ability to stabilize and repair the intestinal mucosal lining. And deglycyrrhizinated licorice, DGL, root, which soothes and protects the gut wall during the healing phase. These are taken twice daily, 30 minutes before meals. Step 4. Rebuild the microbiome, month 2 onward. Once we have eliminated parasites and begun repairing the gut wall, we need to repopulate the microbiome with beneficial bacteria. I recommend a high-quality probiotic containing a minimum of 50 billion CFU, with strains including Lactobacillus rhamnosus, Bifidobacterium longum, and Lactobacillus acidophilus, the strains most studied in older adults. Pair this with prebiotic fiber from cooked and cooled sweet potato, oats, and green bananas to feed and sustain the beneficial bacteria. Step 5. Restore immune defenses throughout. Across all phases, I recommend 3 immune-supporting supplements. Vitamin D3 at 2,000 to 4,000 IU daily. Most seniors over 65 are deficient. Zinc at 15 to 25 milligrams daily. And quercetin at 500 milligrams twice daily. A powerful flavonoid with both anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties. This is the Gut Restore Protocol. 5 steps, systematically targeting every layer of the problem. Let me now show you what to expect when you follow it. One of the most important things I can do for you as your educator and as a physician is to set realistic, honest expectations. The Gut Restore Protocol is not a one-week fix. The damage that parasites cause to the aging gut, often accumulated over years, requires time to reverse. But what I can tell you, based on the dozens of patients I have guided through this process, is that the results are consistent, measurable, and meaningful. Here is what you can generally expect, week by week. Week 1. Exposure elimination phase. Most patients notice surprisingly fast changes simply from removing the re-exposure sources. Switching to filtered water and rinsing produce properly often results in a noticeable reduction in bloating within 3 to 5 days. Do not underestimate this step. It creates the foundation for everything that follows. Weeks 2 through 4. Antiparasitic phase. This is often the most challenging period. As natural antiparasitic compounds begin doing their work, some patients experience what practitioners call a Herxheimer reaction, a temporary worsening of symptoms as parasites die and release toxins. This can include increased fatigue, mild headaches, or temporary digestive upset. This is normal. It is expected, and it is a sign that the protocol is working. Staying well hydrated, taking activated charcoal if symptoms are severe, consult your physician first, and reducing the herbal dose temporarily can all help manage this phase. Weeks 4 through 6, transition to gut repair. By week 4, most of my patients report a significant drop in bloating and gas, often 60 to 80% reduction. Energy levels begin climbing. Sleep quality often improves, which many patients attribute to reduced nighttime gut discomfort. Stools normalize in consistency and frequency. Month 2, microbiome rebuilding. This is when many patients describe a real turning point. The introduction of high-dose probiotics and prebiotic foods begins to shift the gut environment noticeably. Mood often improves. Remember, 90% of serotonin is gut-produced. Cognitive clarity sharpens. Joint inflammation begins to reduce as systemic inflammatory markers fall. Month 3 and beyond, immune restoration. By the 3-month mark, vitamin and mineral levels, especially B12, iron, and vitamin D are typically trending toward normal ranges on follow-up lab work. The immune system begins recovering its reserves. Skin conditions associated with systemic inflammation often resolve. Let me share a second patient story to illustrate the range of results. Robert was 74 years old, a retired engineer from Arizona. His primary complaint was not digestive, it was cognitive. He came to me concerned about what he called early dementia symptoms: word finding difficulties, short-term memory gaps, and persistent brain fog. After comprehensive gut testing, we found a moderate blastocystis hominis infection, a protozoan parasite, combined with severe gut dysbiosis. After completing the full gut restore protocol over 4 months, Robert's cognitive assessment scores improved by 22%. His wife told me at their final visit, "My husband came back to me." Those words still move me today. Every patient is different. Some respond faster, some slower, but the direction of travel, when the protocol is followed consistently, is almost always toward improvement. And the best part, unlike pharmaceutical antiparasitics, which can have significant side effects, the natural approach I have outlined supports overall health simultaneously as it eliminates the parasites. Coming up next, your call to action and exactly what you can do starting tonight to begin this process for yourself. We have covered a tremendous amount of ground together today, and I am genuinely honored that you stayed with me through all of it. Before I send you off, let me give you the 5 most important takeaways from everything we discussed. 1. Intestinal parasites are far more common in seniors than conventional medicine acknowledges, affecting an estimated 1 in 6 older adults in developed countries. 2. Standard stool tests miss up to 70% of infections. Ask your doctor specifically for a PCR-based stool DNA panel if you suspect a problem. 3. Symptoms like fatigue, bloating, brain fog, joint pain, and skin rashes may not be age-related at all. They may be your gut sending a signal. 4. The Gut Restore Protocol addresses all 4 layers of parasitic gut damage: source elimination, natural antiparasitic agents, gut lining repair, microbiome rebuilding, and immune restoration. 5. Results typically begin within 1 to 2 weeks and continue building for 3 to 4 months with consistent application. Now, here is the one thing I want you to do tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. Go to your kitchen, look under your sink, and assess your water source. Is it filtered? If not, that is your first concrete action step. Purchase a quality pitcher filter or countertop filter rated to remove protozoan cysts. This single step, which costs less than $50, is one of the most powerful things a senior can do for gut health right now, whether or not you suspect a parasitic infection. Clean water is the foundation of gut health. Before I close, I want to hear from you. If this video resonated with you, if you recognize yourself in any of the symptoms I described, or if you have a story of your own to share, please leave the word "restore" in the comments below. I read every comment personally, and your words help me understand what topics matter most to this community. And if you have not already, please subscribe to this channel and leave a like. These small actions make a real difference in helping this information reach other seniors who need it. Now, one important note. And I take this seriously every time I share medical information. In 15 years of medicine, the thing that has moved me most is not the technology, not the research papers, not the lab results. It is the moment a patient looks at me and says, "I feel like myself again." That is why I do this. That is why I make these videos. You deserve to feel like yourself again, not a diminished version of yourself, not the version that medicine has told you to accept because of your age. Your body has an extraordinary capacity to heal when given the right tools, the right information, and the right support. Take action. Trust your body.